And hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up, we'll delve into the importance of prioritizing your mental health. We'll explore the steps that can benefit those grappling with mental health challenges. Following that, we'll discuss the latest Apple products and assess whether they make excellent holiday gifts or personal tech upgrades. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss that. Then, we'll uncover the most costly mistakes made by older Americans when selecting a Medicare plan. We'll also provide some tips for maximizing benefits and saving money. Then finally, we'll discuss the distinctions between Medicare plans and then offer guidance on what factors individuals should make when considering choices for their 2024 health benefits. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Because right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime. You are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, some things have been going throughout the past week, and we're going to take you through some of them with our Bronx updates. And we start off with recent developments in transit news. According to MTA records, ongoing staffing shortages are straining subway services despite a 2-year push to recruit over 2,000 new train operators and conductors. In August, subway riders faced more than 5,000 delays linked to staffing shortages, a sharp contrast to slightly over 1,500 delays in January. The surge is attributed by the largest transit union to a 70% year-over-year increase in assaults on subway workers, as per MTA statistics. Canela Gomez, who is the vice president of Transport Workers Union 1100, Local 100, emphasized the issue, saying, quote, "Passengers need to stop spitting on us, punching us in the face, and throwing water bottles at us. We would have more crews available if the public would cease these attacks." However, MTA spokesperson Eugene Resnick disputes the stating there is a negligible correlation between instances of transit worker victimization and crew shortages affecting service. Currently, crew shortages rank as the third leading cause of subway delays this year, following maintenance issues and police response. In community news, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs is committed to nurturing the city's rich cultural landscape. They recently secured its second largest budget and is distributing funds to a multitude of upcoming projects. Our BronxNet reporter, Brittany Schuyler-Albane, has the details.
The New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, dedicated to supporting the city's vibrant culture, is seeing its second largest budget and allocating funds to numerous projects.
It's $222.8 million for 75 organizations across the city of New York.
Of the 75 projects, the New York Botanical Garden was awarded funds to develop its site operations center.
It's the first net positive energy public building in New York City. We're really excited about this project and really grateful to the mayor and the commissioner for their support.
This center will serve as a hub for those who Bernstein mentions make the garden such a special place. It will cater to administrative and trade-oriented needs by adding workforce training rooms, vehicle storage, a repair shop, kitchens, and lunchrooms to support employees.
This is a building where the work of the garden really happens. The behind-the-scenes work that makes this such a special place happens in this site.
Their operations center is also the first net positive energy public building here in New York City.
It will be climate friendly. Net positive energy means that the building will create more energy than it uses. So it's good for the people who work here. It's good for the people of the Bronx.
As they now have the funding, Bernstein says she hopes to start the project as soon as possible to maintain their 18-month project timeline and open a building that both employees and park-goers can enjoy. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albane.
And thank you, Brittany. In other news, the Department of Correction could soon be required to inform the public of any in-custody deaths within 24 hours as a new bill aims to mandate. Now, the legislation demands the agency overseeing detainee medical care issue public records with recommendations to prevent future fatalities. This initiative is in response to concerns raised regarding the lack of transparency in jail death reporting and the confidential nature of medical morbidity and mortality reviews conducted by staff at Correctional Health Services. In 2023, 8 individuals tragically died while in custody, including 3 at the George Vierno Center on Rikers Island. In 2022, 19 deaths among roughly 66,000 detainees, marking the highest death rate in decades. The proposed legislation, expected to be introduced at the full council meeting, would formally require jail personnel to notify the deceased defense attorney and the media within 24 hours. The legislation would also require CHS to regularly report on the compassionate release of individuals with serious medical conditions. Well, that is all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but guess what? We got more open, including important news regarding Medicare and health when we return.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Oh, how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
We all know what it's like to feel alone. But it just takes one new connection. Want to get out of here? To empower many.
This is unbelievable.
It doesn't take a superhero to bring forces together. We all have the power to reach out
Let's go!
and help someone feel like they belong.
Pretty cool, huh?
We are stronger together.
It's important to get a flu shot each and every year because flu viruses are constantly changing and immunity from the vaccine decreases over time. Flu vaccines are updated annually to work against that year's viruses. The best time to get your shot is in the fall, but getting it later can still help. Getting a flu shot lowers your risk of getting sick, and if you do happen to get flu, it's likely to be less severe.
And welcome back. Every year, about 1 in 5 New Yorkers experience mental illness, underscoring its significant impact on the community. Fortunately, therapy provides a valuable opportunity for individuals to effectively manage life's challenges and lead more fulfilling lives. Now, through therapy, individuals gain insight into their emotions, their origins, and acquire effective coping strategies. We spoke with clinical social worker Alexandra Perez to shed more light on this particular matter. We'll take a look now.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my knowledge with everyone.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
And I got to ask the question when we talk about mental illness, how prevalent are we seeing it in our community?
It's really, really high. We're seeing that mostly children are experiencing a lot of mental health disorders such as anxiety, depression. We're seeing how this is impacting them in their school performances. So we're definitely seeing a rise within mental health illnesses across New York City.
Yeah. And so when we talk about our children and we talk about the numbers continue to rise, are there particular communities within our area that we're seeing rises?
Definitely, we're seeing, I can speak to you in terms of the Bronx itself. Definitely in the South Bronx, we're seeing a rise in mental health illnesses and communities where there's definitely a lot of poverty. That's rising a lot in terms of people being able to, having difficulties coping with like just life stressors.
Right. So for your job is really to help somebody through it, right? You're a clinical social worker. You talk to families. You talk to young people as well. Walk us through a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So if someone comes to me for help, we really want to be able to get a clear sense of like their history, their presenting problem. We want to get a large scope of what makes this individual, right? Like what are some of the things that this individual has struggled with in the past? What are some of the goals that they want to work on? And so in conversation, we develop a therapeutic relationship and we're able to pinpoint what are the things that this individual is going to work on and grow, and we'll design a treatment modality that is going to help this person be successful in whatever goals they're developing with me in session.
You talk about therapeutic relationship, right? So a relationship takes time. You have to develop that relationship. We know that particularly in communities of color, that relationship becomes like, strained, because there's this huge stereotype barrier. People don't necessarily like to come to counselors, right? Like to seek therapy. Are we seeing more and more people become comfortable with the fact that I can come through the door, I can come see Alexandra?
It's still a challenge, you know, because there is the stigma that, you know, when you go to therapy, it means you're broken or there's something wrong with you, right? And so we're still working towards trying to break that stigma so that people can feel more comfortable going to therapy and being able to get the help that they need in order to solve some of their issues, presenting problems. So I have seen more and more people that are willing to come and speak, but there's still more work left to do in that area, for sure.
We think a lot about children. We think about young adults. We think about youth, right, when it comes to that. But when we see children, talk to me about children, the ability for them to be able to get help. Because there's so many children right now who are being affected by so many things that are going on in life and traumatic things. We think about school shootings. We think about all that's the macro level. But reality is that on a day-to-day life, what goes on with mom and dad, or no dad, no mom, that becomes something too. What's available for children at this stage?
So for children, they're more the most vulnerable population because in order for them to receive therapy, especially outside of their home and outside of their school, their parent has to be extremely involved in that process, right? So it's really urging parents to be able to provide that support to our kids in order for them to receive those services outside of their home. But, you know, I think that in schools, there are programs that are in some schools in order for students to be able to get that support. Many schools have social workers, many schools have counselors that can provide some of that support. And so when possible, students will be able to get that within their school settings. But outside of school, it's really the parent who has to be that frontline person that helps them consistently obtain that help outside of their home.
To get help and to really be able to come through those doors is a huge step. What advice do you give to people who really know that they need to take that step, but whether they're afraid or maybe these misconceptions that are out there, they don't come through the door? What advice do you have?
I would say that it's important. It's important for people to overcome those stigmas that mental health carries. It's important for people to take that first step and reach for help and be able to obtain the knowledge and the skills that are going to help them deal with whatever stressors they're dealing with at home or in their community, right? So I do urge people to reach out to, there's definitely a lot of websites. BetterHelp is one of them, Psychology Today. I usually refer a lot of people to New York Psychotherapy. They're located in the Bronx and they accept referrals. And so they work with families and individuals. I myself see individuals and children and families. So there's the help is out there. It's just a matter of going out there and looking for it and being open to change.
Alexandra, in your work, talk to me about COVID, post-COVID. We consider this post-COVID. But now that we're coming out on the other side of it, what are you seeing coming through your doors by way of people and the need for services?
There's been such a huge impact. COVID has had such a huge impact on people's mental health, children's mental health. I've seen a lot of children suffering from anxiety, children who don't want to go to school anymore because they're just afraid to be amongst a lot of people. I've seen children who are very depressed, individuals who are very depressed since COVID because they still haven't mourned the loss of their loved ones. They still haven't been able to mourn the loss of just their regular day-to-day life. Like COVID was such a fast-paced change for everybody, right? And so people have developed traumatic experiences from that. And we see a lot of people that are struggling with being able to deal with day-to-day life stressors that maybe prior to COVID wasn't a big deal, but since COVID, it's been harder for people to deal with, right? People have stressors like they can't find jobs, or they've lost their home since COVID. They've lost loved ones. So a lot of loss that people have had to deal with in a short amount of time. And so I'm seeing all of that in my practice.
Yeah. A lot of people sometimes won't come through the doors because of cost. There's a fear factor of, this is going to cost me a lot. This is highly expensive. But tell me about the cost and what's the cost associated with, really having therapy and counseling sessions.
Well, a lot of therapists like myself accept insurances, but if you don't have insurances, there's a sliding scale, and so it really depends on your income. And a lot of therapists like myself would be able to evaluate what would be a lower amount that you can pay, right? So if a session would be $65 per hour based on your income, it can be lower than that. So people can have ways of being able to pay for services. It's just a matter of starting the process and taking that first step.
And what if I'm that person that I'm really financially challenged and I can't afford therapy? What are the options that are available for me?
Well, there's definitely resources that can assist people in obtaining Medicaid, for example, and Medicaid insurance, and being able to afford therapy through that type of insurance. So it's just a matter of being able to connect with your local agency and having that assistance.
Yeah. You spent the majority of your time of life right here in the Bronx, doing work in the Bronx and serving the Bronx. What do you say about the Bronx from your angle, and what can you give us an assessment as to what you're seeing through the lens of people?
I think I take a lot of pride in being able to give back to my community in this way. Like you said, I'm born and raised in the Bronx, and so being able to deliver some of my expertise to people and help people and families do better, it just gives me a lot of joy and satisfaction. I think that people in general are going to need to break through those stigmas and really try to gain access to mental health. And I think that our community leaders have to do an even better job in expanding some of the resources that are out there for people to obtain mental health services. And I foresee that if all these things can take place, like we as a community can do better.
What have you seen has been the greatest improvement in the work that you've been able to do lately?
I've seen I've seen my clients go from not knowing what they want to do in life to being able to start back in college and getting master's degrees and being able to like really change their circumstances. I've seen families that are at a point of just everyone separating and divorce taking place to really coming together as a unit and striving. I've seen children who have not had any intentions of going to school, start going to school and being able to do well academically. So there's a wide variety of progress that I've been able to see with individuals, with families, through my work with them.
Yeah, well, Alexandra, I want to thank you for coming and sharing with us. And
You're very
thank you for the work
welcome.
that you do, as we say, highly impactful in the lives of people, and keep doing what you do. Sometimes you don't get the credit that you always deserve, but I want to give it to you here right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Well, now listen, if you want more information, you can schedule an appointment through her email at alexandraperez335@gmail.com. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back more open right after this.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that, make it into a song.
Me the babe, see you in the morning. With the first date, Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at on the way out? In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
So as a technical sergeant, E6.
I served in Vietnam in 1969.
I am a U.S. Army veteran.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Try to always be there for each other.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I can't say that I have. I mean,
If you don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts, it can be really bad.
Eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
I guess it's a part of the military too, right? Service before self.
It was drilled in, service before self.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me, When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
And welcome back. Apple has recently unveiled its annual iPhone refresh, along with a host of updates to the Apple AirWatch and AirPods. Now, with these exciting releases, many are wondering if it's worth considering these devices for the upcoming holiday season. Here now, the editor-in-chief of Laptop Magazine, Sherri L. Smith. And Sherri, good to have you. And as always, an exciting time for people, I guess, when it comes to Apple. The buzz is generating, but the question is it buzz or is it fizz?
Well, it really depends on what phone you have now. So if you have maybe a 13 or a 12, it's absolutely time to upgrade, because we all know that after a certain amount of time that Apple likes to start zapping phones, and they're not as fast as they used to be, and they're a little more sluggish, and maybe certain apps aren't going to be working. So if you have an older phone, definitely. The newer, if you have a 14, that's going to be more about preference. Now, we are seeing some really good numbers with the new chip, A Bionic 17 chips. We are seeing really good numbers with that. We're seeing better battery life. There was an overheating issue with the quick charge, but that has been resolved with the software update. Thankfully, it was not a hardware thing, so you're not going to have to send your phone back in and try to get another one. It was resolved fairly quickly. And speaking of quick charge, um, Apple users are now going to be switching over to USB Type C chargers, which means do not ask me for my charger. I've always been USB C because I'm an Android, and I remember the mean and hurtful things you said about me and my green bubble. I do not
Yeah,
giving you
gosh, I
my
mean,
charger.
some people hold grudges for years, but okay, we're gonna let that go. Yes, everybody's going, but seriously, everybody, tell everybody because we do have to see a huge shift to USB-C. And for our viewers who may not be so familiar, walk us through what's gonna happen here.
Well, basically, USB-C, the change happened because the European Union decided that, hey, we are tired of you making us have to buy a whole nother charger when USB Type C gives you a better fast charge, allows for better wattage, and we're not taking it anymore. Like, you have to make it uniform. So Apple had to comply, or Apple wasn't going to be able to sell iPhones in Europe, and that's a big old chunk of change right there. So that is why Apple users are finally getting the USB Type C charger. With that, it'll give faster charging speeds, and now everybody, like, it's like everybody can use the same chargers. But again, don't ask me for my charger.
I'm not going to ask you for your charger, but let me talk about this. Some people in our studio are buzzed about this because a new MacBook Pro is coming out, and it has the M2 Ultra.
Though, like, right now, Apple has not made any hints or what have you. So everything right now in terms of the new MacBooks is conjecture. We were hoping to get an announcement or at least a little peek, like, hey, we're going to have another event before the year ends. That still might happen. It just hasn't happened yet. So stay tuned for that. But right now everything is up in the air. Like, it might be M2 Ultra, it might be M3, depending on like how Apple wants to play it. So it's just really, really up in the air. Like, all the known leakers and analysts have weighed in, but again, we really don't know, and it's not responsible to say, well, yeah, they're doing this, because Apple is right now mum on the subject.
Yeah, give me a little bit of guidance on what's happening with the 2023 Apple Watch 9. A lot of talk about that. Give me some insight here.
So again, new Apple Watch, like, Apple is uh it sticks with the same design. It's still a beautiful watch. And it's really going into diving into the custom Apple Silicon. So you're going to get it's a new dual core processor, so you're going to get more power because they've shoved all these transistors in there, about 5.6 billion to be exact. And it's really going to be leaning into using your hand, so you can now do this, like a double tap, to do gesture, like to do certain functionality. um and you can still play music, it'll still do your fitness stuff, and it's really going to be leaning into health tracking and sleep tracking. And like, if there was ever a time to get a Apple Watch, now would be the time.
Yeah, yeah. And we know that a lot of people are excited as we talk about these headsets that are coming out. We got the Apple's Vision Pro headset that's going to make its release. A lot of people talking about it, but they're also talking about the price point.
Nobody's going to pay $3,500 for well, Apple does not call it AR. They do not call it MR. They do not call it VR. They call it spatial computing, which is like it's the future. Like, so, like, I had the opportunity to demo the headset, and it was very impressive. But the price point at this at this venture uh, makes it like only developers are really going to invest in that, or people that are really early adopters.
And when we talk about that $3,500 investment, we know a lot of people are really saying, listen, we'll wait until the price goes down or we will find something else to actually pay attention to. When we're hearing the Apple, the Apple pushback, a lot of people have been pushing back on several things about Apple. What are the things of concern that people are paying close attention to right now?
Well, like $3,500 is a lot of money to pay for any headset. So, um, if you are looking for like a mixed reality experience, an AR, a VR experience, I would recommend the MetaQuest 3. It just released. It starts at $499. It's lightweight. It's basically what happens when the MetaQuest 2 and the MetaQuest Pro get together and have a baby. It has all the features, most of the features of the MetaQuest Pro, with a more powerful processor, better lenses, and lighter weight. Um, Plus, you get Meta, um, expansive library of over 500 games and apps, and there's going to be 100 more apps launching. So some of them will be new apps, some of them will be updates to current apps to accommodate the new resolution.
Yeah. Sherri Smith is also the editor-in-chief of Laptop Magazine, joining us, giving us the latest on what's happening with regards to the new Apple release and what we can potentially look forward to. But let's talk about the magazine, Laptop Mag, for a minute. What can we look forward to? We're getting close to the holiday season, and I know you got your eyes and your sights set on a lot of incredible things here.
So right now we are deep in the middle of Prime Day Part Two. So there are a lot of deals to be had, and deals are coming, and we're getting ready for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, because there will be deals there. We just reviewed the new Microsoft laptop, the Microsoft Studio Pro 2, and the Surface Laptop Go 3. So those are things to look out for. In the gaming fronts, there's so many games out. Spider-Man 2 is slated to come out. Mortal Kombat is out. People are still playing Baldur's Gate. There's Starfield, and there's games coming from Nintendo. There are rumors of the Switch 2. So there is a lot to come on the forefront for Laptop Mag. Not to mention, we're going to be rolling out our annual tech support showdown special report very, very soon. And that's when we go undercover with the major laptop brands to test how knowledgeable their tech support representatives actually are. So we test them with questions about their software, hardware, and try to see how knowledgeable they are, how polite they are, and how helpful they actually are.
Sherri Smith, we got to leave it there, but a lot to look forward to. Thank you for sharing with us. Indeed, I think with Apple, with this new release, a lot of people are paying close attention. But as we get close to the holidays, you're going to see more and more people going towards our electronics. And it seems as though even with the recession in the loom or looming or presently, as people would like to say, people are not letting up when it comes to their electronics and their electronic candy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, good to have you, sis, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great one.
All righty. Now, for more information, please visit the website, laptopbag.com, and then follow them on social media at laptopbag. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back more open coming up right after this.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right? It's comfortable. So how's civilian life treating you? It's fine. When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Adding your own flavor to fashion comes with age.
Okay, Dad, look at you.
Yeah, welcome. Hi.
Forgetting how to add doesn't. Finding it difficult to work with numbers may be a sign of Alzheimer's.
Dad, are you okay?
An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's. Some things come with age, some others don't.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right?
I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own. And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
And we are back. Medicare decisions can be quite complex, but there's no need for them to be overwhelming. Making the wrong choice can result in lifetime penalties, inadequate coverage, and subpar health care. Today, we're joined by a Medicare expert from Chapter and the author of the book, It's Not That Complicated. Ari Parker joins us now discussing the annual enrollment period and some costly common mistakes that people often make. And Ari, good to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ari, do we have you? I think we've got some technical difficulties. Ari, can I hear you?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
here.
sorry. Thank you. All right, just want to make sure we got through the technical difficulties. And when we talk about, Medicare, Medicaid, really some common mistakes that we talked about in the lead. What are some of those costly mistakes that people are making?
Yeah, there's a lot of costly mistakes that people make. And the time to review these mistakes and fix them is happening right now during the Medicare open enrollment period, which ends December 7th. So what are some of the mistakes that we see? The first is not reviewing your coverage. Medicare plans change every year. So can your health. So it's important to review what plan is right for you. And you can't find this out based on television. Joe Namath doesn't know what doctors you see. He doesn't know what medications you take, and he doesn't know what's important to you. So it's important to choose what plan is right based on your 3 Ps. And your 3 Ps are your providers, who are the doctors you see. Your prescriptions, what medications do you take? Are they brand name or are they generic? And what pharmacy do you like to go to? And then finally, it's based on your priorities. What's important to you? Do you travel out of state? Do you perhaps plan to go on vacation somewhere else? It's important to review your 3 Ps to prepare for the Medicare open enrollment period.
As we talk about Medicare open enrollment, people don't always think about this thing called maximizing my benefits, right? They just pretty much sometimes just go with the flow. They're presented with something, they take something, they go with it. What are the things I can do if I want to maximize, if I want to also save some money on this? Because everybody's looking to save money, particularly at a time like this.
Absolutely. And many of our viewers, as you mentioned, have Medicare and Medicaid. If you have Medicare and Medicaid, then it's important to review your coverage to make sure that you're getting important benefits that might be available to you. Because those benefits are going to vary, whether you need transportation to dialysis, for example, or whether you want a flex card or a grocery card, or something else, maybe even a gym membership. All of those would be important to review in anticipation of the Medicare open enrollment period. And you need to act before December 7th in order to find the plan that's right for you.
Yeah, so people do have some time. December 7th is right around the corner. Not a lot of time, but they can go ahead and enroll and find out what they need to do in order to be right for the upcoming year. When we talk about 2024, a lot to look forward to in the world of health. One of the things we're talking about is the rise in prescription costs. How is this going to impact the average person with the rise in prescription drug costs?
It's a great question. For the very first time ever, there's going to be a maximum out-of-pocket cap on Medicare Part D. D is in drugs. Previously, there'd been no maximum. So some seniors were paying thousands of dollars for expensive prescriptions, up to $15,000 per year. That won't be the case starting in January. Beginning next year, there's going to be a maximum out-of-pocket cap, and it's going to roughly amount to $3,300 for the upcoming year. So if you're on expensive prescriptions, all the more reason to review your coverage before December 7th.
Yeah. Well, when it talks about annual plans, I know that sometimes people look at it and say, this is just like a Cheesecake Factory menu. I mean, it's a whole lot to have to wade through. When you look at it, I mean, somebody says, this, that. But what should people really be paying attention to when they're looking? Because it's a lot of fine prints, a lot of stuff they have to wade through. But if you give us a glossary glance, is what people should be paying attention to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These plans can look like a cheesecake menu, but it's not that complicated. In my short book on Medicare, which takes less than 2 hours to read, you can find it on Amazon. It's a bestseller. I go through our 3 Ps method. Your 3 Ps are, first, your providers. What doctors do you see? We need to make sure that they're all in network. The second P are your prescriptions. What medications do you take, brand name or generic? The final P are your priorities. What's important to you? We have all of this at the touch of our fingertips and can sort through your 3 Ps to find you the single best fitting plan for you. So it's not like the Cheesecake Factory menu.
Not like the Cheesecake Factory menu. Well, talk to me about the book. Obviously, you were the author of the book. It's not that complicated, but for so many people, it is complicated. And you kind of like simplify things for people.
Yeah, that was the goal. It was based on my parents' experience with Medicare. They had an awful time. And I just wanted to provide a resource for people in order to help them choose the right plan for you. So whether you're a viewer and maybe you're an adult child who's helping your parents, I think you can really find value in the book, and it's a short read. You can also visit our website, askchapter.org, or you can call us toll-free at 888-487-2023, and there's no charge to work with me and my team.
Share with me a little bit more, because I do want our viewers to become more aware of the Medicare Part A late enrollment penalty that's out there. What do they need to know there?
Yeah, so there's actually 3 penalties. The first is on Medicare Part A, as you mentioned, and that's if you don't sign up for Medicare timely, then you might have a late enrollment penalty for your hospital costs. You also might have a late enrollment penalty for your medical costs, your Part B. And then finally, there's actually a Part D penalty. D as in drugs. So if you don't sign up in time for Medicare, you actually face 3 penalties. They compound, they keep adding up, and they're a lifetime.
And we find a lot of Americans actually find themselves in a place where they are being penalized. It's simply because sometimes access or really understanding what's in front of them.
Absolutely. It's so important to get educated. And I think a really good way to do that is by checking out the book. It's not that complicated. By visiting the government's website, medicare.gov, or by visiting our website, askchapter.org.
Yeah, and I know that providers are really a challenge for some people, navigating providers, finding out that maybe your provider isn't providing coverage anymore. That kind of thing can be frustrating, it can be time-consuming. Are there any key questions that you should be asking providers, particularly at a time like right now?
Absolutely. When talking with your doctors, it's important to make sure that they're all in the plan that you want to choose. If they're not in network, you either won't be able to see them, or you're going to pay a lot more if they're out of network. So it's really important when talking to your doctors to make sure that they're in network. It's also important to do this for your prescriptions, and finally, your priorities and what's important to you, because you want a plan that will be flexible throughout the year and will adjust based on your changing health circumstances.
Yeah. All right, I want to thank you for taking the time to break it down. A lot of information that people need to have in hand and making some decisions before December the 7th. So real crucial time. Glad for you coming to share with us, and hopefully people will take advantage of the information that's presented. And I'm going to let people know, if you want more information, visit the website, askchapter.org. Also follow them on Facebook at Chapter Medicare. Encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back more open coming up right after this.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out. Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper. I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I gain clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
One of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history at Post nightclub in Orlando.
Walking into the building for the first time after the shooting, it was crippling, but it had to be preserved. If you're an ally of this community, speak out. There are more of us together than apart. It is the power of love in its rawest form.
Attacks against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are on the rise.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer. In terms of the hate crimes, I think there is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us.
Ready?
That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Well, there's so many things going on in the world that we want to make sure that you stay connected to the things that really matter the most, and that's the things that's happening here locally. Medicare serves as the nation's health care program for individuals that are age 65 and older, and as well as those who meet specific eligibility criteria, I should say, at a younger age. Now, selecting the appropriate Medicare plan can be a complex task, given the often intricate language that's used in the plans and sometimes the numerous options that are available. Well, we got joining us now and sharing more and providing some insight is the Medicare Chief Distribution Officer at Cigna Healthcare Medicare, Gary Culp. And Gary, thank you so much for joining us and being with us today. And I want to talk about the Medicare enrollment period because it is coming up. And so break down for us the enrollment period and what is anticipated for Americans.
Daren, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. And the annual enrollment period for Medicare is a really important time. It starts on October 15th and runs through December 7th. And the reason why it's important is because during that time, Medicare beneficiaries can take a look at what plans they're on today and what their needs are and whether they fit those needs or not, and look at an option for the upcoming year for 2024. So their selection right now during the October 15th through December 7th period gives them the opportunity for enrollment on December 1st for many options that are available.
Yeah. So we hear about Medicare Advantage Part C. What is Part C?
Great question. So, original Medicare covers a lot of benefits for in and outpatient, but it does leave some gaps in terms of coverage as well. And what's nice about the Medicare Advantage plans, or what some might call Medicare Part C, is that they cover everything that original Medicare offers and more. Things like transportation to and from a doctor's visit, dental coverage, which can help in overall wellness and health, vision, hearing, even fitness programs that keep people active, healthy, and well.
Gary, the question is, does it actually replace Medicare?
So, you never really truly replace Medicare, but the Medicare Advantage plan becomes your coverage. So as a Medicare beneficiary, when you elect a Medicare Advantage plan, that is your plan. So you don't, continue to have two separate plans of where there's Medicare, original Medicare and a Medicare Advantage plan. It becomes one. The nice thing about having it integrated, many of these plans offer prescription drugs as part of their integrated benefits. So not only do you get the health benefits, and some of the extras that I kind of offered as well, but also prescription drug coverage.
Yeah. What are some of the common potholes we're finding during this time of year for people who are really trying to figure this all out?
You know, Daren, for me, it's kind of like, thinking about what's important to you as the beneficiary. So for many folks, they have a relationship with their provider or their doctor. And so taking a look at the network that the Medicare Advantage plan has to offer is a really important consideration. So is my doctor in the network? Is the specialist that I'm seeing or potentially would like to see, is it in the network? Is an important question to have. The other is when you look at prescription drugs as an example, it's what drugs are covered and at what copay. And many plans like Cigna offer both retail pharmacies where beneficiaries can actually use their benefits and go into a retail pharmacy, as well as a mail order so it can be delivered directly to their home.
Yeah. And I know that you've been doing this for a minute. So when we talk about the Medicare Advantage plan, and particularly we talking about Part C, talk me about pros, cons, as people are trying to weigh it out right here. If I'm looking at the scorecard, how does this play out?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that, healthcare is very individual. So what might be really important for one may be different for another. And I'll use my own parents as an example. So, at one point in time, they were on two different plans because their needs were different. Their health status was different. What they needed in terms of access to specific doctors were different. So what I would say is that people really need to pause and take this time, the October 15th through December 7th annual enrollment period, to make a decision around what it is that's most important for them today and going into this next year to make sure that the plan has the right fit for them in terms of what their needs are to stay healthy and active.
Well, Gary, I understand that you're using a full court press in order to get the message out. And one of those people who are taking part of full court press, NBA legend Magic Johnson, doing a little work with you. What's Magic been up to here?
Really exciting to have the partnership between Cigna and Magic Johnson. And, all of us know him as a pro in basketball, and just an amazing history in terms of his basketball career. What some don't know is that Mr. Johnson actually is an entrepreneur and focuses on helping, inner communities in terms of health and health access. And so having a relationship between Magic Johnson and Cigna has been really important in terms of sending the message. And, Magic will tell you that, he may be a pro on the court, but he's a rookie in terms of Medicare. And the reason why he says that is that Magic within about a year is going to be new to Medicare. And so right now he's looking at, what should I be considering? What's important? And making the same decisions that, folks right here are probably thinking about too, like what is important for me for next year in terms of the coverage that I'm looking at.
Yeah, and so having a voice like Magic Johnson has to be great because, kind of like bridges the gap for a lot of people who just might be in that in-between phase or just don't know. What advice do you have for those people? Because as I was sharing in the last segment, sometimes you're trying to weed through all this stuff, and it's like going through a Cheesecake Factory menu. You just don't know what to do, how to do it. But what advice do you have for people who may be just struggling in that area with the fog?
Well, kind of using your example of Cheesecake Factory, what I would say is that we don't want to make it complicated. We actually want to help you. And so think of us as kind of your server to help you navigate that menu. Cigna's here to help. We actually have resources available online at cignamedicareinformation.com. We also have a toll-free number where agents actually are online where they can actually talk to individuals about what's important to them, what might be the right solution in terms of, addressing their health care for this upcoming year. And that's a toll-free number at 877-349-2897. And no different than Magic Johnson. Many of us may be rookies in terms of Medicare, but that's where Cigna can help in terms of, making you a pro and comfortable in terms of what decisions you're making for this upcoming year.
Yeah. And that decision-making process is hard. I mean, obviously, for a lot of people, they just don't know how to navigate. But obviously, with the work that's going on at Cigna right now, really making people more comfortable, really making people more aware of what's going on, particularly with the Medicare Advantage Part C. Are you anticipating a lot of people going this way?
We are. Actually, what we've seen is over the last several years, an increase in individuals that have moved from, original Medicare to a Medicare Advantage plan. In fact, when you look at the total Medicare population, about 51%, so now a majority, are on a Medicare Advantage plan. And by no mistake, I mean, you know, a Medicare Advantage plan may not be the one size fits all for everyone, but when you think of 51% of the Medicare population electing for a Medicare Advantage plan, there's some consistent themes as to why they're picking a Medicare Advantage plan. One is that they get all of the benefits that a original Medicare offers and more. And many of them are offered these plans with no additional premium. So it's not like people are adding a premium to be able to get these extras. But what I do encourage folks to do is take the time during this annual enrollment period, October 15th through December 7th, to really sit down and determine what is the right fit for me for this upcoming year. So that I can look at the network of doctors, look at the coverage in terms of prescription drug coverage, and then look at some of the added benefits to see which ones are most important for me in terms of dental, vision, hearing, fitness, and transportation as examples.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, we were talking in my last segment, that are concerned pretty much with prescription drug costs. I mean, the rise in prescription drug costs. Talk to me about how Medicare is going to be able to help and assist in that manner.
Well, the nice thing is that when you look at programs like a Medicare Advantage plan, like what Cigna offers, you know, many of them offer drugs and prescription drugs included in the actual plan. And so we help in terms of controlling those costs because we do them in copays and smaller amounts to make it more affordable so that people have access to their prescription drugs. And I'd mentioned earlier, but I think it's good to mention here around the prescription drugs too, is that, you know, we have it where you can go to a local pharmacy because some might have a relationship with their pharmacist or need something that's just a short-term medication. But we also offer delivery to your home. So we can send your medications, like the maintenance medications that you're taking on a regular basis, directly to your home. So you don't have to even go to a retail pharmacy if you don't want.
Yeah. Gary, as we're winding down, I really just want to get the opportunity to let you tell people what you feel they need to know, particularly at a time such as this.
Sure. So a couple of key takeaways. One is the annual enrollment period is the time you can make a change for the upcoming year. And it runs from October 15th through December 7th. So, you know, take action in terms of, you know, looking at what plan you're on today. Two, know that, you know, healthcare is personal. So take the time to understand what it is that's important for you. And three, what I would say is contact Cigna. Let us help you. In addition to Medicare.gov, which is the Medicare site that will give you comparisons of plan options, we can actually help you in terms of navigating what may be a little confusing or complex and make it easier in terms of your selection. And the resources for that are CignaMedicare.com, and that's C-I-G-N-A, Medicare.information.com, as well as a toll-free number with agents standing by at 877-349-2897.
Well, Gary, certainly a lot of helpful information has been disseminated out here. I want to thank you for taking the time and really educating our viewers as to what we need to know, particularly when it comes to Medicare Advantage Part C and the great work that you guys are doing. Thank you so much for being with us.
Really appreciate it. Have a great day, and thanks for having me.
All righty, Gary. Take care now. Listen, if you do want more information, again, visit the website at CignaMedicareInformation.com. Also call them at 877-349-2897. Well, we come to the end of our show today. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Fios Channel 2133, or watch it anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can, of course, catch a brand new episode of Open with my girl, Rena Valentine, Café con Leche. That's on Friday. All righty, that wraps up this episode of Open. I am Daren Jaime saying take care. Make sure to keep this channel wide open, and God bless. We'll see you soon.